you're like me and you have spring fever, let's go plant shopping. I'm going to give you 12 tips to make your shopping experience on point. Tip 1, make a wish list. You don't have to buy the whole store all at once. Make a wish list. I really want this patio peach bonfire tree. It's $62.98, and I'm going to put it on my wish list and think about it for next year. Also, one plant that has been on my wish list, but I haven't bought it because I didn't know if it would survive, is this pincushion flower. I went ahead and bought one. Tip 2, don't get discouraged. If you see plants at the plant store that look better than yours at home in the ground, just know they've probably been in the nursery and being pampered the whole time. You're not doing anything wrong. Tip 3, do some research. Use your shopping experience to gather research. Tip 4, have a plan. Think about where you're going to put plants, which projects you want to work on, and shop accordingly. I bought these plants at Home Depot and put them in my bicycle planter. Tip 5, pack with purpose. Be careful taking those plants home. Make sure they are packed where they're not going to fall over and break. Tip 6, learn sale patterns. Remember those sales every year come back at the big box stores. Shop accordingly. Tip 7, practice restraint. Just because a flower is pretty when you see it doesn't mean you have to buy it, especially if it is not good for your growing zone. Which brings me to tip 8, read those labels. This plant is hardy to 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Even though it says a perennial on the tag, that would not be a perennial for my growing zone because it gets colder than that. A better option would be this rhododendron. Tip 9, match your plant and your plan. If you're going to plant something in a sunny spot that's dry, make sure you buy a plant that can handle those conditions. Look at this beautiful camellia. Who would not want to buy that? Isn't it gorgeous? Well, I've tried camellias and I don't do well with them. Camellias need very specific growing conditions, good drainage and shade, and also this camellia here wasn't even hardy in my growing zone. Read those tags. Tip 11, size matters. If you buy a large, expensive plant, that's a big investment. Make sure that's going to be okay in your growing zone. This one here is beautiful, but USDA zone 7 to 9, I'm 7A, so I wouldn't feel comfortable spending that much money for a plant that is marginally hardy. This one's $279. That's quite a bit of money. So I'm going to have to pass on those plants. The smaller plants, especially if you have clay soil, those younger plants usually are better options for you anyway. I might get this Japanese maple at some point because I have had good experiences with those and they're fine in my growing zone. This beautiful magnolia tree, $374 each. And I have quite a few red buds. So I would get that one. This one I would have to pass on even though it's got the beautiful green foliage. Arborvitaes don't tend to do that well in my growing area because of the humidity, and also deer love to eat them. This is a plant I wish listed. I've wanted it for a while, a coral bark Japanese maple. So I just took a second to appreciate it, check out the price, and moved on with my life. Here's a better option for an evergreen. This is a juniper. I have 3 of these Blue Point junipers. These do well in my growing zone. Just do a little research and know your growing conditions. Drive around your neighborhood, see what looks good and what looks bad. Watch some YouTube, listen to some podcasts, Google things, look on Reddit. Just know before you go, especially if you're going to buy anything that's a big investment. These are some smaller plants. Lowe's has these. They're better options, I feel like, because they're smaller. They're less of an investment and they tend to do better and not get shocked as much. Tip 12, check the clearance section. Always check the clearance section. Lowe's has a great clearance section. And so those plants are marked down a lot of times half price. I didn't buy anything when I went this time. These are just some pictures of some ground covers they had. This is a plant that does really well for me, and I was just checking out the price and seeing what they had. These garden tiles were very enticing. However, they're a little pricey. Hellebores, always beautiful. Too expensive for my taste, so I just wish listed that as well. Plus, I don't have a good place for it. Purple fountain grass, very deceiving. Sometimes it'll say perennial. It is not a perennial where I live. This fringe flower, also enticing this time of year. Don't handle our winters very well here. And so I'm going to skip that just because I've looked around and seen what happens with them. These Margarita dark pink African daisies, beautiful, almost bottom, didn't do it. This fire dance dogwood, look how pretty. I have dogwoods. This is marginally, it's a 7, so you got to look for heat zones and cool zones. It's almost too hot and humid for us here. I do have some in the some of these types of dogwoods, and they actually do pretty well. So just getting doing a little research at the garden center, getting a little more education. I did get in on this 3 for $10 sale at Lowe's. I got some St. Patrick's Day type plants. This jasmine was there we go. That's what I got at Lowe's. Jasmine was tempting, but just think about how long they're gonna bloom. That's not going to be in bloom all that long. Here's some things that were at Walmart. They have their geraniums out, petunias, calibrachoas, and primrose, which I've never had experience with primrose, but I just looked at it for a little bit. So they also have poppies, which I've noticed more people are carrying poppies in our area this time of year. If you get those bulb plants like hyacinths or tulips, just know they may come back next year, but if they're not that great of a buy, to be honest, it's better to get those in the bulbs. Look at these cool water collectors from Walmart. I did end up getting some black cow and using it in my rose bed when I was at Walmart. Thanks, y'all have a great day.